enjoyed spending some time with over the course of this past summer as well, Robert.
Absolutely. Ian Wilkes joins us now live from Louisville, Kentucky. He is the trainer of Fort Larned, the winner of the Breeders' Cup Classic. Ian, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Good morning, and welcome and congratulations, Ian. Terrific job with Fort Larned.
Oh, thanks. You know, it makes it fun when you get a horse that can run. You know, it makes my job easy.
Now, you've had over $15 million in career earnings, over 260 career wins. I think it's safe to say none of those have ever been as big as Fort Larned winning the Classic on Saturday. We're going to watch the race again in full here while we have you on the air. Your horse is number 4. Tell us a little bit about your plan for the race. Did you want to be on the lead with the way the track was playing?
Well, the plan was to be up there. You know, you had to be up there. And the important part of it is, if you watch it there, is the break. You know, if we miss the break, we're going to be like game on dude. We're done, you know. And that was the biggest key to the race, is the break on Saturday. And the way it worked out, you know, I told Brian, is either, you know, you can be, if you're in front, no one wants to go, that's okay. If someone wants to take the lead, you can sit off them. And it was up to him then.
Now, we're watching your horse come through the home stretch for the first time here. You mentioned that you had to be up near the lead, and certainly that was something you saw over the 2 days of the Breeders' Cup. Did you think the track was particularly speed favoring?
Yeah, it was. You know, I can't say it wasn't. It was. Closers had a tough time. They would get there, but couldn't win, you know.
Obviously, your horse broke beautifully, as he typically does. That had to be kind of a heartwarming moment, especially since Alpha, to his inside, kind of broke a little bit inward, leaving Fort Larned completely in the clear. Tell us, obviously, you were down inside, which seemed to be a good spot during the course of the 2 days worth of Breeders' Cup competition, but you never really were able to shake clear. Once or twice it looked like you were able to kind of maybe put Macho Man away, but boy, he was a stubborn horse. What were you thinking as you were turning for home, thinking, boy, I thought I had put this one away?
You know, I got to give a lot of credit to Kathy Ritbo and Macho Man, Mike Smith. That horse ran an unbelievable race, you know. He really ran a winning race, except he just didn't win, you know. And a lot of credit has to go to that horse. But, boy, he was stubborn. He was tough to put away, and it was a great race, you know. That's what racing's about, you know, races like that. And I was fortunate enough to come out in the right end.
As Ian Wilkes, we're watching your horse passing the 8th pole here on the home stretch with Macho Man coming to you. I'd say about 50 yards from the wire, your horse starts pulling away from Macho Man again and wins by about half a length on the wire in a thrilling edition of the Breeders' Cup Classic. The 1.25 mile distance is not one that's run very often. How confident were you that he could get the distance, especially after finishing 3rd at the same distance in the Jockey Club last time out? Ian, do we have you? Ian, are you there? Oh, I think we may have lost Ian Wilkes. We'll try to get him back.
Yep,
we'll get him back on the line. We may have lost Ian. He is on his cell phone, but I think that was a question mark for all the horses in the race, Gene, whether or not they could get the 10 furlongs.
It certainly was, and it was a case where coming in out of the race at Belmont, the Jockey Club, at the 10 furlong distance, I think you could ask that question legitimately. But, you know, we see this every year as well, Robert, going up to the Triple Crown. You know, those horses that are very good at 8, 9, they get to that final furlong in the Derby, and they find it to be testing. Now, of course, you know, this is also a situation, though, where I think it's fair to say, and we talked with Ian earlier this year about the distance, and I think he's certainly a trainer that, you know, points for a race and knows how to do it, of course, like his mentor Carl Nasker. And I believe we have Ian back. Are you there, Ian?
Yeah, I'm back.
Great. We're sorry about the phone issue.
Now,
no problem.
We were asking right before we got cut off that the 1.25 mile distance, how confident were you that he could get that distance, especially after he finished 3rd in the Jockey Club last time at the 1.25 mile?
I was very confident. I didn't think there was an issue, you know, with the 1.25 mile, because early in the year I'd run a mile and 3/16 and broke the track record at Gulfstream. But then, you know, the 1.25 miles at the 1.25 miles I ran at Belmont, I had to, make a decision. I had to freshen him up for that race to make the Breeders' Cup, and I probably just had him a little too fresh, take nothing away from the winners, and, I was very pleased with the race. I got everything out of it that I wanted. I just needed just to fine-tune him a little more, and the distance, he's got the pedigree and everything, so I didn't think it would be a problem for him.
Ian, we just saw a video of you cheering for your horse down the stretch, a terrific video on NBC. What were you thinking as your horse came down the stretch? I've got a real chance to win this.
I was looking for the wire. I was trying to move that wire up a little bit.
Obviously, it's a little bit nerve-wracking, and as you said, with as good a horse as Mucho Macho Man, right there, really every step of the way. But you were talking about the preparation for this horse, and we had the chance to speak over the summertime about Fort Larned and about how your plan was to get him to this race, and a little bit of freshening time between the Whitney and the Jockey Club. Using the Jockey Club as a true traditional prep, I guess, was more your thought, rather than saying, well, we need to win the Jockey Club in order to get into the best spot for the big dance. Would that be a correct assessment?
Yeah, that's right. And believe me, it's such a prestigious race, the Jockey Club. I would love to win that, but I had to make a decision in which way to get to the Classic, and because I've been going all year, and if I'd worked backwards from the Breeders' Cup and just planned on 6 or 7 races, that would have been a really good option. I would have been a lot, I wouldn't have needed that race there. I would have been able to just keep on a roll with him.
It's interesting you bring that up, Ian, about how you were looking ahead to the Breeders' Cup. I'm not looking at Fort Larned's past performances here. In February, this horse ran at Tampa Bay Downs in a handicap race and finished 4th, and then went on to run in all stakes races the rest of the year. At what point did you start thinking, I've got a horse who can run in the Breeders' Cup Classic and possibly win it? Was there a point where you started looking ahead to it?
That was later in the year. I just, after I won the Tampa, I said, well, let's take a shot at the Grade 3 skip-away. And when we win that, I said, well, let's take a shot at the Alashiba. And then he ran so good in that, I thought, well, I'm ready for a Grade 1. And we had a dismal performance that day. That's his only bad race all year. And I ran him back in 2 weeks in the Cornhusker to get him back on track. And off of that, off the Cornhusker race, we decided to go to the Whitney. And when he won that, and he had the winning ring, which was a great incentive, that's when we started really thinking about the Classic, the point for that.
And obviously, it was a wise decision to give him that freshening time rather than bring him back off the Whitney in the final weekend at Saratoga. Tell us, how did he handle that freshening, and what was his condition going into the Jockey Club and then coming out of it? Did he, obviously he came out of it very well, but did you see any significant change in the way he was training in that time period?
No, the horse, he's always a good workhorse, and it just was, he come into the Jockey Club working good, but when he come into the Classic there, the last work before I shipped him to out there, I worked him at Churchill. The work was just, there was something about the work. He worked lights out, it wasn't like a fast work, but it was just the way he did it and how he did it. It was just very impressive, and I knew I had him, he was ready.
Talk about the job your jockey, Brian Hernandez Jr., did for you. He's been on this horse the last 3 races. I thought he really did a great job blowing the race open on the far turn and building up that lead that never was overcome.
Yeah, Brian's a very good rider, very underrated. Young kid, just turned 27. The big thing is he trusts the horse. And if you don't trust the horse and let the horses do it, it doesn't matter who you are, you're not going to win as many. But and once he trusts him, and just, they get along like clockwork. These two, they got a good affinity together.
I remember we talked with you back at Saratoga about Brian. He's not exactly a big-name jockey on a national level, and I'm sure many bigger-name jocks would have loved to be on your horse, but you stayed loyal to him. Talk a little bit about that decision.
Yeah, and that best part with Mrs. Whittam, with the loyalty, Brian wanted to stick with us, so she stuck with him. He rode him in the Cornhusker. He actually rode him in the last year at Churchill when he won an allowance here, and I liked the way he rode him and how he got along, and when we went to the Cornhusker, I needed to ride it because Julian was riding Successful Dan, so we decided to put Brian on. And they got along real well, so we kept him on for the Whitney, and he did nothing wrong, and we just didn't want to make a change because we felt like we had something really connecting there with the two of them.
Let's look forward a little bit. Ian, Fort Larned, sounds like he's going to stay in training from here. What are your plans?
Yeah, he'll stay in training. This year next year we'll make a plan to point backwards from the Breeders' Cup Classic, and we'll give him a break now, give him some time off, and just plan on, 6, 7, 8 races. We'll make a plan and just work backwards and point everything to try and win the Classic again.
Well, I suppose those same races are probably going to be on the schedule. The schedule that you took this year really seemed to work very well for him. So hopefully we'll see him here in Saratoga.
I won't have to have that freshman in between there, because I'll be able to use. He likes to race more regularly. He loves that racing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, Ian, many horses rush their owners off to the breeding shed after they win a big race. And how exciting is it for you that this big horse is coming back to race again?
Oh, it's fantastic, yeah, he's only 4, and he only got good this year, he's still really, at 5, he's not going to be an old horse, he's just maturing, and hopefully, he can still get to a little higher level, just keep improving.
And obviously, you've won the Breeders' Cup Classic with him, so many people would say, well, how much improving could he do? But as you mentioned, a youngish horse with not a lot of racing under his belt up until his 4-year-old campaign this year, and even then, a moderate campaign with a nice break in the middle, giving him a shot. Do you expect to bring him back down in Florida once again over the wintertime after a little bit of an autumn freshening?
Yeah, I'll bring him to Florida with me. He'll come on down to Florida, and and just play. Get him down there, get some sunshine when he's back, and just put him in light training, and just tell me when he's ready to start back serious.
That sounds like a winter that I'd like. Get down to Florida, have a little sunshine. Does he need an extra groom or a hot walker?
Ian, you mentioned we saw that video of you a couple of times of you cheering down the stretch. Tell us a little bit about who was in the box with you that day, and what does this win mean for you personally and your team?
Well, in the box with me was my wife, Tracy, my daughter, Shelby, and my son, Brody. And I think Frank Penn, who had the farm where the horse was bred with Mrs. Whittam, had Mrs. Whittam's mares until he retired. I think he's standing behind us. And this win, is it's just an honor, associated with Carl Nasker to carry on. He turned the horses over to me, and to be able to carry on what he started a program, and to carry it on and keep building it, it means so much to us.
And obviously a huge moment. We're watching that clip again. I love it when NBC has the camera on that, and I'm sure it's nerve-wracking for you to be in that position with the box. You're in there, it's crowded, you got a lot of people looking and everything else, but boy, it is fun to be able to look back, because we've all enjoyed watching that stretch run and been cheering through the stretch run, but it's really nice to see how the direct connections are reacting, and to see to follow it through that moment when suddenly you're like, yes, the wire is here and we did it.
And that's really the thrill of racing, isn't it, Ian? I mean, I like Gene said, I love those shots because it just shows what an exhilarating sport it is.
Oh, it is. You can't explain it, and I don't think it's really sunk in yet that I won the Breeders' Cup Classic. It's just so unreal, and this game is it'd be such such a humbling business, and you get something like this, you just got to enjoy it. And, and there's a lot of people, you can't thank everyone that's helped you on the way.
It begs the question, Ian, how did you celebrate? I noticed you had horses entered at Churchill on Sunday. Were you there? Did you savor the victory a little, or did you get right back on the flight and get back to work? Oh, I think we lost Ian again.
Oh, no.
Tough cell
That's
phone connection for
unfortunately.
Ian, but we do appreciate him taking the time, and it is good to see good things happen to good people like Ian
Absolutely.
Wilkes, a terrific trainer and a terrific, even better guy, one of the nicest guys we met at Saratoga.